Welcome back to Switch to Linux. This is another outdoor philosophy. So I'm back here in Lederer Park here because, well, it has a nice, the longest, the best through the woods walking pack, and I had a little bit more reading to catch up here to finish up the chapter we're going to be looking at here. So we are back to Power of Focus. And on the Power of Focus, what we are going to do here is we're going to have a look at chapter 5. And chapter 5 is on building excellent relationships. And this is kind of a neat discussion point because they started out their discussion in talking about the double spiral. Some people will really bring us up and build us up, and some people will really tear us down. And that's one of those things that we have to keep in mind, is that there are toxic relationships out there in the world. And if we have these toxic relationships, we have to make sure that we are kind of cutting them out, excising them out of our life. Otherwise, we ourselves will kind of become toxic people. And that's what we don't want to happen. You know, it is true that you kind of become the company that you become, you know. And so with that being said, they actually start their chapter talking about the double spiral, understanding the downward spiral and understanding the upward spiral, because that provides for us the framework by which we understand how to analyze and understand our friendships, our relationships, etc. You know, if you're constantly around people who are being negative, that's going to tear you down. And you want to find more people who are positive. It's not that we want to walk around like the happy-go-lucky club and nothing can ever go wrong. And, you know, the most hilarious take on that I've ever seen was in Adventures in Odyssey, and I think it was called The Happy Smilers. Somewhere between volume 32 and 35, somewhere around there. So this episode called The Happy Smilers, and this smile convention is at the Timothy Center, and basically they're all about positive thinking and all this, and Odyssey at that time had this amazing way of challenging people's presuppositions, because you had this group where it's all happy-go-lucky and everyone's like cheering happy and whatever, and of course what does Odyssey do? Well, they give the main director a heart attack right in front of everybody, and then they have to deal with, you can't just run around and say we're all happy all the time. It just doesn't work that way. So there are real challenges in life that pull people down, and we have to learn to distinguish what is a person who is seriously negative versus a person who is in some bad circumstances. Do you understand the difference? And are you a person who's going to help the people in bad circumstances? But if it gets to the point where it's also negative, there just comes a point in time you just got to cut the relationship, just be done. And I remember a guy, and it's hilarious because he called me out of the blue the other day. One of the most negative guys I've ever known, self-centered guys I've ever known, but he was a friend of mine. He lost the ability to drive. He was a neighbor of mine, so I used to take him down to the store. He was pretty crazy and vile most of the time. It's just, I don't mind spending some time around some negative people, but he just got so bad. Like, literally, he called the other night, and he was on the phone for like 2 hours, like trying to every now and again ask me, like, what's up with you? And then you'd start to say one thing, and one or two sentences in, he goes off for another 20 minutes about his horrible life or crazy bad stories. And it just gets to the point where it's just like, okay, I gotta go now. You know, and that's a person I'm not going to spend a lot of regular time with, and you need to understand that is the type of person that we need to be. So we don't have to completely cut every person who says a bad thing out of our life, but we also don't want to walk around artificially happy. And that's kind of the balance. And they outline here in this chapter on building excellent relationships to avoid and look for and understand the signs of toxic relationships. And so the authors here are commenting from Warren Buffett had three questions he asked of anybody that he was going to do any business dealings with. He asked, do I like them? Do I trust them? And do I respect them? And if any of those resulted in no, then what would happen is he would simply not do the deal. And so he had to like the person, he had to trust the person, and he had to respect the person. And that is something that we keep in mind, to keep in mind for us, because if I don't like somebody, it's really hard to do business with them. I have business relationships I want to cut off. I am not in the financial position to do it, so I kind of feel trapped in a way. So as I increase my marketing and as I find more people to work with and regular clients, I have clients in the list of order that I'm going to excise them from my workflow as soon as I have enough other clients to replace them, because they're just not nice people. And that's kind of one of those things. Like this one group, they're not like flat out rude, but very condescending. And I don't deal with that very well, you know? I mean, it's like I don't like go into shutdown mode, but I got into business for myself so I can choose my own clients. And that really is the key thing. So asking yourself those core questions is pretty good. Now, they talk here about how to find mentors. They talk about mentors. They talk about a mastermind group. So a mentor, and this kind of goes back to any success in life is going to come from a lot of different views. One of those is the mentoring ships. So from the Christian perspective, we frequently hear it say everyone should have a Paul, everyone should have a Barnabas, and everybody should have a Timothy. A Paul is an older, wiser person who is teaching you things in life. This is essentially a mentor. A Barnabas is a guy, usually about your same age, who's doing life with you. And then a Timothy is a person you are helping and mentoring. Okay, moving beyond the Christian realm, look at the 12 Steps programs, AA and X Anonymous, you know. All of those, they start with an understanding that you're powerless over your situation. You have a sponsor who is an older person in the program, not necessarily older in age, but a person who is older, more experienced in the program. And then you have a group of Barnabases, which acts as your regular meeting that you're doing the program with. And the last step in a 12-step program is to carry it on, to help sponsor someone else. That's picking up that Timothy. So you have the Paul, you have the Barnabas, and you have the Timothy model. And it works in Christian circles, it works in getting off of addictions, and it works in the business world. Find mentors who can help you in your goals. Now with mentors, and I'm not sure if they talked about this is my take on mentors, who's a person who has had mentors, who has mentors, and who does a lot of mentoring. I'll tell you that there are core mentors in your life, basically what I'd call a life mentor. They'll help you in all aspects of your life. But you should still find some key mentors to help in these specific areas you want to grow in. Me personally, I am bad at marketing. It's an area I'm bad at. I know what to do. I just don't have good execution. So for me, I need to track down a mentor, and this is something I'm going to have a goal to do in the next month or so. I need to track down a mentor who will help me become more accountable with marketing, because I want to get rid of those crazy clients, really. So figuring out, if you want to be a musician, find a musician who's been or who is where you would like to be. And they actually go through here on identifying your target. So identify those people you'd kind of like to be like. And then select the mentor candidates. And then what they say to do here is you call them up, or email in our modern age, text in our modern age, who knows, but you call them up, whatever else, and a phone call does always work a whole lot better than a text or an email, but you call them up and you say, you know, I'm getting started in the field that you are already successful in. Would you sit down with me, you know, for an hour, you know, once a month or something, and help me learn about the strengths and the weaknesses, the pitfalls, and help me be successful? A lot of people will find that a little flattering and say, absolutely, I'll help. Because a lot of successful people in business are going to be people that will very easily take it upon themselves to help other people along. Because a rising tide raises all ships. You know, if you're talking about a software programmer, you might very well be helping to mentor and raise up the next, you know, Bill Gates or something. And that would be a good person to have in your corner, you know. And of course, if that person says no, you want to have a list of people you want to talk to. If that person says no, move on to the next list. Don't sit there and dwell on the no. But in sales and in business is, you don't worry about yeses or nos. You worry about asking the question, because it might take 9 no's to get to 1 yes, but the 1 yes will be very profitable. Does that for anybody? Never mind. I won't go there. So creating a strategic plan. So that means that when are you going to meet with your mentors or mentees, and figuring that plan out. And that is a core thing. Now, the last thing they talk about in this chapter is the Mastermind Group. So the Mastermind Group is a group of core people that will they'll go through life together and help one another out in their various strengths and their various challenges. And so the Mastermind Group, you want to have, and you can make these broad or you can make these narrow. You can make them so that you're either focusing all on a male group of your age and your occupation, or you can spread it over a co-ed group across the multiple ages and multiple occupations. And then it depends on the type of input that you want to get, the feedback that you'd like to have. And so creating those groups is powerful. Now, of course, in the modern Christian world, we talk about the small group model, which I have sometimes is a good model and sometimes is not quite so good model. But we need to understand that a core group of people, I think the problem that the churches have is they try to artificially build them and not let them organically grow. And that's the thing, is your group has to organically grow. So I am part of small groups in a church setting. I'm also part of a business group network. Now, I'd like to see the business group network become more like a, quote, mastermind group. We're more like a referral network than anything else. But nevertheless, at least you have this core group of people. We end up meeting for about an hour and a half, twice a month. And so that's not too bad of a schedule. And you know, the thing is that the Mastermind Group will help you identify your core areas, and is a group of people that will help you and hold you accountable to your individual goals. So that is my thoughts and my takes on relationships. I would highly, once again, recommend this book. Excellent book for goals setting, planning, and just, it's a very good handy walkthrough, including they even have some action steps to do, some workshops in between. I guess the last part they talk about in here is what they call making yourself bulletproof, or building your fortress. So they split up your relationships into family type relationships and business type relationships, and then identifying the key people in those areas, and then making sure that the right people are in the right places. And I remember I think it was a John Maxwell message that I listened to a long time ago. Of course, he was a pastor, and he's also, one of the top leadership guys in the country. But John Maxwell, and I want to say this was a sermon. I think it was like top 10 things I learned, or the top mistakes that I had in my early career or something. I forget what it was, but he'd used the analogy of the train. Our life is like a train, constantly moving down this track for which we can never go back. There are some people that jump on that train really early in our life, and they are with us forever. They are with us until one of us dies. There are some people that come on the train and then get off the train, and get on the train, and get off the train, get on the train, and then get off the train. And so you might go, for example, in high school or in college. I know there's a lot of young people that watch the channel. In high school or in college, you might have a teacher through high school that really helps you through those high school years. And they'll do anything to support you for these couple of years. But then once you leave high school and go off to college, you will probably not talk to them much at all, if at all, again. And so that is a person who's been on that train of your life for that period of time, but then they've gotten off the train and other people may jump in. And so you might get a college professor, or a best friend from college, or some business mentor and some internship you do. And that will help move you along even further. Now, who was it? His book is Good to Great. Jim something. What's his book, or what's his title? I'm forgetting his last name, but the book is called Good to Great. And he uses the analogy of the train, or I think he might use bus, but he uses the same analogy to say, in a business relationship, there's two different questions. Number one is, are the right people on the bus? And number two, are those people in the right seat? Because you might get a person who is really, really good for your team, but he's in a bad position. And that's something else that we want to evaluate as we live our life and as we go throughout things, evaluating the relationships. Are the people that we have in the various places in the right place in our life? They may just need to shift around a little bit. Who knows? Well, regardless, that brings us up to about the 15-minute mark. So I will have a link to this book down below. Of course, you can support the channel on Amazon and on Patreon for now. And let's see, I think the next chapter we'll do is the confidence factor. And I'll be looking for another book to read after I'm done with this one. I'm going to keep this series going, do a chapter at a time through a book throughout the end of the summer, I think. But we'll see what happens. So with all that being said, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.